Hey there YouTube, it's Sergtino, and welcome to my thoughts on the day one of the Pokemon Championships. Let's get into it. So today I'm going to be talking about the day one of the World Championships. Now, I do have to say that I'm very limited in the data that we were given, because basically the only thing that we can get from today is a couple posts online and basically the stream, the Pokemon live stream that was on during the day. It's kind of hard to see specific deck lists or specific strategies, but I think with what they showed in the stream today, we can have a general idea of how day one was. All right, so for this part, so you can see the whole entire screen, I got rid of my face. Here, I just kind of put the rounds and the decks that were shown in stream today, and we're going to look at some of these matches. But the general overview is that we can clearly see here in rounds 1, 2, 3, there were 2 round 3s because they showed 2 round 3s on stream. Palkia was definitely the big deck here. 4, 5, 6, 7 is also Palkia, but a couple of Arceus showing that it's still quite strong. So clearly the top 3 decks right now is Palkia, Arceus, and Mew. What I found very interesting is the Radiant Charizard that was trying to put in. I mean, you can see in round 2, Ross Gotham made a whole deck around this Radiant Charizard. It is limited to only have 1 per deck. If you can keep bring it back up and charging it up, it's very strong, especially late game with the ability lets it just hit without having any energy. I think for day one, it was always going to be the safer, more consistent decks that were going to make it far. It could be the same in day 2, but I honestly don't think it will be, just because, I mean, you will see Palkias everywhere, but I think you're going to have a lot more techie cards rather than consistent cards, because now you just have to make sure you beat your opponent, and usually 1 or 2 cards is what makes the difference. So those were the matches that we kind of see on stream today. I'm going to talk over each specific match. There was one more at the end, but because I think there's a limit of the live stream that's only on for 12 hours, it got cut off. So I don't know the results, and it got cut off fairly early, so I don't know what happened. So now we're just going to be looking at the stream today and my thoughts on that. All right, I'm gonna just talk over the first game, which was Zachary Fortier versus Xander Pero. I'm gonna be playing the game at double speed just so it'll be a little bit quicker. I'm not gonna go through all of it. I'm just gonna be talking probably just the first game of each match. This match was Mew VMAX versus Palkia. I noticed that this is the only game that the glitter was quite bad, and I wonder if Pokemon fixed it later, or maybe they just asked players not to have glossy card sleeves, because it's kind of hard what to see. You can kind of see that there's a Mew VMAX there, and I don't even know if that's a Palkia there. First of all, I want to talk about these players. Xander Pero, amazing history. Zachary Fortier is actually a Canadian, a fellow Canadian. I'm in Canada as well, and I've played him quite a bit of times. He's a very, very strong player, one of the best in Canada for sure. All right, so this matchup is quite interesting. I'm not exactly sure how this matchup fully works. My understanding is that Mew VMAX is just very consistent, very quick, and Palkia just tries to hit it, but has difficulty hitting a one-shot. I feel like if Mew VMAX played the cards right, they managed to keep their bench low, maybe just 4 or 3 cards in their bench. I think Palkia will have really hard time one-shotting it, and if you're not one-shotting it, then it's a little bit more of a consistent battle. Now, Palkia is a 2-prizer versus a Mew 3-prizer. Mew definitely relies on getting the early knockout in this matchup. But that's what Mew is there for. It's there to hit high numbers really quick, very consistent. It relies a lot on the attack modifiers to make sure it adds up damage and hit those nice numbers that it should. Like there, he already added 1 attack modifier there. Power Tablet, I forgot the name. Power Tablet, there it is. And yeah, with that, I believe this turn he should be able to get the knockout. You see how this deck is so consistent, and that's why it's so good in the day one kind of format, just because you kind of just want to get consistently going, and maybe put in a couple of, you have to kind of rely on a couple of flip coin cards. Pokemon catchers, as you can see there. But that's what makes it just so strong, because you can actually use those cards and still keep this deck quite consistent. You can see there he takes an early knockout, and this is where I find it difficult for Palkia to come back, because Palkia with a full bench, you're doing 200 plus a 60, 260 plus a choice belt, you're doing 290, so you don't hit that 310 that you need to knock out the Mew. Now, I don't know if this deck runs the quick shooting Tillion, which lets him get the 310, which would really help him there. And I don't know if he's also running maybe a Leon to also have the one hit attack modifier. So I find this quite interesting, because he actually brought up the Genesect. So maybe the idea is that he has the cards to get the 3 knockouts from the Genesect. But if you go down that route, you're kind of relying that Mew VMAX doesn't have the 3 knockouts. So it's quite interesting how you play this matchup. Again, the whole entire point of this is to just set up a Mew and get those power tablets to make sure you knock out a Palkia, and he does there. So this is like the ideal scenario. So I find this play right now quite interesting. So he attacked with Radiant Greninja, and basically the idea is that he managed to get a knockout, that Meloetta that was on the bench, and hit the VMAX, which sets it up for a Palkia. So right now, Zach is relying on a boss's order to knock out and get the 2 prize cards on the bench, or a Pokemon catcher. Now, even with that, it has to depend on, do you have enough power tablets to get the knockout as well. Oh, wow. So he got tails on all of those Pokemon catchers. That's the problem with the deck. You rely on the heads, and I think mathematically and probably you should be able to get enough heads throughout the 3 games, but it's just very tough. Right there, he really depended on that, and he could have won that game, but unfortunately he didn't get it, and that's how UV Max rolled. But we can see in this matchup that it all depended on Mew VMAX. I don't know. I find that really important in certain matchups, that like who the game depends on. And Palkia was just kind of depending on, hopefully he doesn't get it, or hopefully he doesn't draw the right card. So hopefully, and usually when you make a deck, you kind of always want to be in the front foot, and that's the really good strong part about Mew VMAX, is that if it gets his heads, it's a big if, but if it gets his heads, it's just very strong. If it gets the power tablets, it's just very strong. And the power and the game depends on the Mew VMAX getting his cards, rather than as the Palkia player just depending that they don't get the cards, right? So like in this matchup, I definitely like the Mew VMAX better, just because it's always gonna be in the front foot. It's just kind of, hopefully you don't brick, you don't dead draw, and if you get your cards, a couple of heads here and there, you should be able in a good position. I'm just gonna forward a bit in this matchup. Early game is again both decks setting up. I mean, almost every single deck right now in the meta is a stage 1, and it relies on the early setup. But we can see there that Mew turn 2, able to evolve and get to that consistent 2 prizes knockout early game. And that's why I also like about Pokemon Catcher. It gives you different options to get a 2 prizer first turn or their second turn more consistently. And it kind of pushes Xander to make sure he benches 2 Palkia down. We can see there that Palkia unable to knock out that Mew just because it's not doesn't have enough power unless the entire bench is full. Oh, very interesting play there. Zach knocked out a bench Pokemon and used Mew's other attack to go back to the bench, go back to the deck, which makes it get rid of all the damage that was given on it, getting a knockout, and now you still require 2 more knockouts, but without the damage on the board, it's very hard for Palkia to get a knockout. It's kind of hard, especially because I don't see any Sabo on the board, so it's kind of hard to get the right cards, and he just had to pass. Pokemon Catcher, very strong, getting Palkia out, and now we'll be getting another knockout, and this just seems to be going in Zach's direction, just because Palkia, very hard to keep up, and if you don't get your cards, you just get destroyed by Mew VMAX. And Zach takes game 2. I'm going to skip a little bit forward to game 3. Well, the consistent setup again by Mew VMAX, just showing how, like, yes, it could break if it doesn't have the right cards, but once it gets a couple Genesect down, it's just, that drawing is just so crazy. There we go, he manages to get 2 Palkia on the board, but you give a couple of turns to this Mew VMAX and it's just going to knock out the bench Palkia. You're never safe with benching only 1 Palkia, you always have to bench 2. And again, Palkia is always depending that like Mew doesn't get the cards, and it's just not the best way to play this matchup. Zach coming back, very strong, getting the knockout. Now Zach just has to get the 1 knockout against the Palkia V-Star. He has the 2 power tablets in hand, and there we go. The Mew VMAX play is very linear in this matchup. You literally have to knock out 1 Palkia V, and then save 2 tablets for a Palkia V-Star and 2 tablets for the next Palkia V-Star, and then you win. I know it's much more difficult than that, but it's very on Mew's court, and I just feel like Mew is just so favored in this. That's why I'm surprised that like Palkia is coming in by itself, because Mew is just so hard for it to beat. Now we're gonna get into round 2. Ross Cotham versus Matthew Vidal. I'm actually not really sure who Matthew Vidal is, but Ross Cotham, a legend in this game. He has shown how like incredible he is by going through every single Pokemon world since been, and that just shows how amazing he is. This matchup is actually quite interesting. A Palkia by Matthew Vidal, obviously there's Palkias all over the place, but Ross Cotham bringing saying, I don't have to bring any of these meta decks, I can just bring my own deck, and it's very interesting how he is so good at deck building to build something that is good in the meta, also him having fun and rather just playing the meta deck. Ross Cotham setting up a full bench of just Sabos and a Mew to make sure he's able to draw some items. Now in this matchup, as you can see here, the Greninja, Radiant Greninja is actually so important because you can get the double knockout early on, and you're going to be hitting 1 prizers, so you don't want to be attacking with Palkia V-Star, because if they manage to knock it out somehow, you're going 2 prize cards versus 1, which is quite difficult. But knocking out V-Star is no easy joke. But the thing about 1 prize decks is that like, you can be a little bit slower than your opponent. And in Raw's deck, you actually kind of want Matthew to take a couple of prize cards, because then it's much easier to charge up his Charizard. And I think here's where the game kind of turns around. He manages to bench the Radiant Charizard, uses Stadium to attach 1 energy, attach from hand, and he just needs 2 energy to that Radiant Charizard because of its ability, and is able to knock it out because it does 250 plus the choice span is doing 280, and that just shows how like quickly this game can turn. Now it is weak to water, so it should be quite easy for Matthew to knock it out, but it kind of seems like he's missing another Palkia. I think he went just really strong in the Sabo because he realizes that he's facing a 1 prizer deck, so he's thought that his plan would just be attached to the 1 prizer, so you can kind of take blow to blow. Unfortunately, I think this game plan is actually ends up hurting him. I feel like if he actually went on the path of just setting up a second Palkia V-Star, getting a knockout with that, would have been easier for him to win because it would be more consistent. This might be a little bit more difficult because it's kind of hard on where you're going to get the last prize, how you're going to set up the last 1 prizer to get the last prize card. As you can see, Ross Cotham just made this deck so consistent to make sure able to hit with the Radiant Charizard later on. And it's just very hard. See, now Matthew puts the pocket up, but it's now too late. Right now, you're kind of relying on the Charizard to attack. I find that maybe if Matthew played this differently, I could have seen this going in his favor. He should maybe set up the pocket. I don't know. Comment below what you guys think. I think that if he set it up earlier on, he had a better chance of winning this one. There you go. Concession, not strong enough. And then the second game is just Matthew dead drawing, and Ross Gotham takes the match. Third game, it's a pocket deck, of course, pocket again. And I found it interesting. Ooh, that's bad price cards. This one is against a Mewtwo Bean Union deck. The whole entire idea is to just discard the Bean Union cards and just get it out and attack with it. It's an interesting strategy. I think what lets Tamiya down in this matchup is just how long it takes it to set up, and not actually in like turns, but more in actually time itself. He ends up running out of time at the end of this matchup, and maybe if he had more time, he would have been able to win game 2 and maybe take it to game 3. I'm just gonna speed through it because it's a very long game, because the idea is until you get the V Union cards, you kind of just draw, while the pocket idea is just try to like go as fast as possible, try to get the early knockouts. It was a little bit difficult for Tamio to get the V Union early on, but he finally managed to get it out. Unfortunately, what really hurts him is not preparing himself for the outgoing horn, or I guess he just couldn't play around it, and that's what ended up costing him this match. The echoing horn, the cross switcher, he kind of just thought, oh, if the opponent's down to one price card, I can just kind of stall him out or just be able to knock everything out, and he just wasn't ready for the catcher and echoing horn. Unfortunately, the matchup took almost 30 minutes, and it's just very hard to play the second game. And what ended up hurting Tamio is like he went for the same strategy, kept going, but because he didn't account for the one price problem, he wasn't able to take the win. It was a little very slow and hard to get the Mew Union out, and now that he finally got it out here, he ran out of time. So this match was quite interesting. I would want to try it out a couple more times to see if it's actually favorable one way or the other. I don't know. You're kind of relying to win game 1, and hopefully game 2 you come back, but it's so hard with only 50 minutes. So I don't know. I find it quite interesting. I wouldn't want to be playing the Mewtwo deck, or this one specifically, because it just seems like it takes a long while to set up, but maybe it was just this instance. I don't know. It's definitely a matchup that I feel like what the stream showed wasn't fair and wasn't realistic, and I'm not exactly sure how this matchup overall goes one way or the other. I'm just going to move a little bit forward. This matchup I'm not going to really talk about because ended up just being a pocket mirror match, and it's at that point just kind of who plays a little bit better. But it's luck a little bit. If both of them know this matchup really well, play it correctly, it's a little bit of luck who gets the right cards, who manage to draw what they need, and I feel like that's what this match ended up being. It took all the way to round 5 in the stream to actually show not a Pacquiao stream, but ended up being a mirror match of Arceus. But the cool thing about Arceus is that it's so versatile. You could be running so many different types of cards, so many different Pokemon, so many different types. I mean, literally types that depends on the matchup. You can run a more consistent line that just runs pure Arceus, or as you can see, Aiden has the Galarian Zapdos that can hit the mirror match for weakness. Very good in this matchup. You can see there are Fire Energy, which means I think both of these players are also running the Charizard, showing how that Radiant Charizard is so powerful. And yeah, in this first game, I believe the difference maker was just having that Galarian Zapdos, which I believe Lucas didn't have. And it's just a big hitter in this matchup. Game 2, it was much of the same, right? Just set up the Galarian Zapdos, tried to get the one shot. So Lucas tried to get kind of early Zapdos knockout just because he bosses order earlier on and got that one hit on, and he had to take two turns to get that knockout, which is very difficult. But now, kind of like he also feels protected because it'll be hard for Aiden to get a knockout back. So I think Aiden just ended up getting a knockout on the Italian. Aiden setting up a Charizard, showing that Zapdos is not the only thing necessary in this matchup. With the Charizard, should be able to get a knockout on anything a turn after. But Lucas showing that you can use care to, like, if you're not going to get the one shot on me, I can heal everything. Very interesting how this match went back and forth. I think very well played by Lucas, but I still feel that just Aiden having the Zapdos gives him a little bit the edge. I feel like if Aiden played it slightly better, maybe he could have been able to win that one, but I'm not exactly sure which play specifically would have been able to turn the game over. Very, very nicely played. It doesn't matter how well Lucas played it, it's just Aiden's deck building is what won him the match. Now we're going to go into round 6 here, but Simon versus Riku maybe. This matchup, I don't know it too well, but it's Pikachu Arceus Pikachu versus the Mew VMAX. Again, Mew VMAX showing that if you're not able to one shot me, I'm gonna put a lot of pressure on you. And I believe that like this matchup just ended up being so hard for Riki, and then Simon just attacking, getting the knockout. Very, very strong. Just jump into game 2 just because it's just a steamroll of how like quickly Mew VMAX is able to apply the pressure to hit the high numbers and knock it out. Wow. Just, yeah, if you knock out the Arceus, just that's it. No, man. Very, very strong shot for Mew VMAX, showing how like Arceus that used to be so strong, it's not so strong anymore because of Mew VMAX. It's very strong in this meta. Last round that they showed on stream today, that before it got cut off, is Andrea versus Ryan. Very interesting matchup. You would really think that Andrea should be an auto win just because of all the dark energy, dark Pokemon that should be able to knock out the Mew VMAX very easily. But I think Ryan just played it expertly. And also, Andrea didn't seem like he was getting the draws that he needed, honestly. He really needed to get those Samurats down, tried to like attach energy, but he just went, it was just hard for him to do. And again, Mew VMAX showing early pressure, attack. I think this was a very interesting part of the game because it's just kind of like Ryan's just digging. You need those power tablets. Try to not get the one shot against the Samurott. And yeah, Professor Boss's orders are right there. Incredible draw engine that Ryan needed. If you just thin out your deck early on with the cards that you don't need, just keep drawing, and that's how strong Mew is. It's kind of funny how like something that should be an auto loss, Ryan was able to just turn her around. And I do feel like Andrea's deck was a little bit difficult to get the energy down the board and get the attacker going. It'll be quite interesting if we see any Samurai in day 2. We could. I think the right build, maybe it's there. I feel like there's a lot of damage that you're moving around, and maybe with the Italians and things like that, there's these tunes, you're hitting really nice numbers. And if the opponent misses a turn, you definitely build up the numbers to get a one shot or a two shot, which kind of like leaves it there for Italian to pick off the next turn. I found Samurai a really interesting deck, but this matchup just kind of showed that it's a little bit slow. I'm not sure if like it just seemed like Andrea was getting the cards that he needed. I mean, maybe in that one he would have ideally gotten a boss's order, but unfortunately, his deck is not just didn't work out for him in that scenario. But the power tablet, be able to one shot a Samura really puts Andrea in the back foot, and it's like, oh, I have weakness, but the Mew mentality is just that like I'm not afraid of your weakness because I'm gonna outspeed you, right? I'm used to like if my opponent sets up, they'll be able to knock me out, maybe like in other matchups, but like it Mew just speed, 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 and the Samura clearly shown is not quick enough or that specific build. Maybe if a different build, maybe it could do well. I mean, it got really far in day one, but very difficult. Really unfortunate that it wasn't able to win the last game that would have guaranteed him day two. That was me going over day one. Definitely what you see is a really cut down version. I really talk more. I don't know if you guys want like a longer video of me trying to have my opinion. I'm trying to get different kind of content that I see online, and I've noticed that nobody kind of goes over the stream. So I thought it would be kind of interesting that going over the games that we see, maybe having a different viewpoint. Click the like button if you like the video, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and thanks for watching.